Hello everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in November. I read some really amazing books in November. I didn't get through the entire TBR that I was hoping to, unfortunately, but I feel like I still had a pretty decent reading month, and I'm not going to beat myself up too much about the books that I wasn't able to read that I was planning on reading. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for watching my videos. If you'd like to see more from me, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new content. But let's just jump into the books. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This is a debut novel, and it is kind of a thriller horror book that follows this young girl who is a part of a cult. What this is about, she lives in this community that is pretty much ran by a cult, and she is considered of lower status, almost an outcast a little bit, because she is half black and half white, and black people are discriminated against in this community, and also her mother was considered a witch, so she gets it kind of from both sides. But things start happening. She goes into this creepy wood that she's supposed to not go into because it has this evil magic in there, and she starts to learn things about her mother and about her and her own past. It is a very interesting book. So overall, I enjoyed my time reading this a lot. I was very invested in it. I was really intrigued by the story, and I think that the atmosphere was really well done, especially with the parts in the wood. They made it very creepy, just like scary, and you had no idea what was going on partially, but also really freaky things would happen while she was in these woods. And also the cult itself, the atmosphere of the cult was extremely well done. The leader, the really evil bad leader guy of the cult, was just creepy. He was so scummy, and I just hated him so much. So I think that was extremely well done in here as well. I liked the main character. She was almost like normal while also being willing to kind of step up and do things that she needed to do in order to protect her family because she loved them so much. So I loved many aspects of this book, but it kind of took a turn a little ways. It was close to the end, and it almost felt like the villain of the story had changed a little bit. And maybe this was just my perception of it and the way I felt about it, because I felt like certain people were definitely things that needed to be dealt with. And then later in the book, it felt like we had stepped away from that a little bit, and we were more along the lines of, we don't do bad things to anybody. I don't know how to describe without making myself sound like a terrible person. Maybe I am, but I kind of like it sometimes in the books where there's some witchy dark magic going on and they take out the bad guys. I like that. I think it's a really fun, interesting plotline, and I was expecting that a little bit more in this book. Not gonna lie, but I did still really enjoy it. I think the character development was really well done, and I think there were some side characters that were made to be of enough importance that we really felt for the things that were happening in this book more than just for our main characters. So I like that aspect as well. I think this was a really well-written book. I enjoyed it a lot, and I would highly recommend it if you like those dark witchy vibes. Those are definitely here in this book. So yeah, I like this. This was a great kind of start to my month, and I had a really good time reading this, especially in the like darker, kind of cooler, dying time of the year. So this is a great pick for that. The next book I read is definitely different from that, and that is Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, which is a pen name for Shonda McGuire, who's the author of Middle Game. So this book is pretty much a book that was referenced a lot in Middle Game, and it is the story of these two children who find this wall, a place in their town that has never been there before. They climb over it and go into another world pretty much, and they go on an adventure trying to get home. So it definitely has that Portal world feel to it. It really feels very similar to her series of the Wayward Children series that starts with Every Heart a Doorway. I know that a lot of people have read that and really enjoyed that series. So if you love that series, you probably are going to love this book as well. I like the Wayward Children series more than this one, actually. First of all, I didn't know this was going to be a series. I thought this was a just novella standalone. So when we get to the end, I felt like it was really weird and very abrupt because I was expecting this book to come to a conclusion. It doesn't. Just a warning. This book is also very whimsical and things just kind of happen, and the magic is not concrete whatsoever. Like, different things can happen and it's just like jumping around place to place. It's very chaotic and scattered, and it was enjoyable. It was fun, but it's not something that I absolutely loved, honestly. I could kind of see the connections between Middle Game when they were talking about the two parts of a whole and how they were so both important to each other, and they couldn't achieve what they were trying to do without the other. So I get that within the Middle Game world, but I just wasn't super invested in this book. I didn't really care if they made it back or not, and a lot of the world, I was just a little bit confused, and I think that's very common in these types of books because there isn't really a lot of solid story, concrete magic things happening, but it was still good. I love the cover. I think it was interesting, and I don't know if I'm going to continue with the series. I might not. I just don't think I really care enough whether they get home or not. The next book was actually on my December TBR, but I ended up finishing it in November, so I'm going to put it on to this list, and that is Michael Vey, The Prisoner of Cell 25. This is a middle grade book. It is the first book in a series about a group of children who have electric powers, and there is a big corporation who is trying to hunt these kids down in order to either study them or to use their powers for their own gain. It sounds very much like Stranger Things. If you have watched that TV show on Netflix, it definitely gives me Stranger Things vibes. These kids are supposedly in high school, but it felt a little bit less mature than high school, so definitely middle grade is a good category to put this one into. The main character, Michael, he was a sweet boy. He was fun and an interesting character to follow, but I honestly really loved his best friend, Austin. I think he was so cute and just entertaining and funny, and he was a great comic relief. So I really enjoyed Austin a lot. I think he was definitely my favorite character in here. And my niece Buddy read this with my husband, my sister, and I, and she loved the cheerleader. So that was her favorite character in this book. But it was a fun read. It was a really quick read, entertaining, easy to get into, but I don't know if I'm going to be continuing with the series unless we decide to buddy read it all together. I just am not super invested in the story, honestly, but I did have a lot of fun, especially because we did buddy read it and watching my niece read it and she's already read the next book and she's waiting to get the third. So obviously she loved it, and that was the best part about reading this book. And while we're talking middle grades, we might as well mention Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow. This is the third book in the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. It follows a girl named Morgan Crow who is absolutely adorable and I love to death. She is so cute, and she is supposed to die on her 11th birthday because she's a cursed child. But a man named Jupiter North comes and whisks her away to the land of Nevermore, where she has to compete in these trials to join the Wondrous Society in order to stay and live in Nevermore. So it's cute. It is just so much fun, so cute. I absolutely love this series. This is the third one, so I can't talk a whole lot about it without giving away spoilers, but this book mainly focuses on Morgan continuing to go to school and further her education, but also there is this illness that is going around and affecting the Wunimals, which she's not a Wunimal, she is a Magnificat. Can't get that wrong. The Wunimals they're animals, but they have human thoughts, characteristics. Like, they are as intelligent and they can do art, and they are on the same level intelligence wise as humans. They just have animal bodies, and this illness only affects the Wunimals. And so there is a lot of social commentary that goes on in this book surrounding discrimination and opposing other people just because they look different or they were born different. So that definitely is a great aspect of this book, and I think it's really well done so that children can learn to, not be prejudiced against people because they look differently, but they can learn it in a really fun and entertaining way within this book. So I thought that was amazing. I absolutely love this book. It is probably my favorite middle grade series at this point, and I can't wait for the rest of the books to come out in the series. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm going to keep reading them as they come. I also did a like unboxing of the special edition box from Crate, and I did a reading vlog of this book. So I will link that up above and down below so you can check that out as well if you'd like to see more in-depth thoughts on this book from me. The next book also came from a special edition box from Crate, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I also have a vlog of myself reading this book and unboxing this special edition box as well, so I'll link that up above and down below so you guys can check that out. But I adored this book. I think it is so beautiful. It's so well written, and if you know me, you know that I love a good atmospheric historical fantasy book, and that is this for me. I loved the parts that were in the past in this book. I just felt so immersed in that world and living it with Addie and trying to survive it with her, and I absolutely adored her as a character. I liked her banter that went on with Luke. I loved that interaction so much, and I really did enjoy the part in the future as well. I liked to see where she had come, how much she had grown, how much she had developed, and seeing where she ended up at the end was so amazing. Like, I loved the ending to this book. I was worried for a bit, but I did ultimately really adore how this book ended. I think that this is just gorgeous and beautiful, and if you like books like The Night Circus and The Starless Sea, I would say you would probably love this book as well. It's about this girl who makes a deal with a demon or a devil in order to live forever, but no one can remember her. So everywhere she goes, people forget her. She can't leave a mark on the world. She can't write. She can't draw. So it's fascinating to see just how intelligent she is, how she can worm her way around the rules and get herself remembered a little bit. So I adored this book. This was one of my favorite reads of the year so far, and I thought it was just beautiful. The writing was so gorgeous. So yeah, this one I would highly recommend. I actually read another Crate book this month, which I am very proud of. I feel like sometimes I get very behind on my Crate books, but that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. This book follows a young Black girl who is born in the South, and her mother dies right before this book begins. And then our main character is going to this early admission program at UNC, and she is still in high school, but she is taking classes at the college. I'm not exactly sure how that works, which I probably should be. I live in America, but my college didn't do that. But she ends up meeting these people who are part of a secret society on campus called the Legendborn, and they are descendants from King Arthur, and they have these magical abilities that descend from that time, from Merlin, and also from the descendants of Arthur and his knights. And she thinks that they might know something about her mother's death, and so she is trying to investigate. But she also is discovering other things about herself, and that she too has magical abilities that she didn't know about, and that she's trying to learn and discover more about herself as well during this book. I enjoyed it. I think that the magic system and the connection to King Arthur and his knights and that legend was awesome. I absolutely love that aspect of it. I think our main character was very interesting, and she was deep. She had a lot of layers to her. She wasn't a perfect character. She had her flaws, but you loved her anyways, and you're definitely rooting for her the whole time. So I loved the way that that was done in this book. And I really enjoyed a lot of the twists that happened in this book as well. I think that it did a really good job of having very interesting plot development points. I liked a lot of those aspects to it where you didn't necessarily see things coming, and they just twisted things up so much, changed up what we thought we knew about this world. So that was so much fun. That was probably one of my favorite things about it, besides the magic system, just learning about the different types of magic and having the different twists. It was such an enjoyable, really fun book. I did, however, have some issues with it that made me not like it as much. I think it's called the lucky novice trope, where the person is definitely a novice and definitely not as skilled and as good as the other people competing in this, yet they win and they succeed in it. I didn't enjoy that. I don't like that trope really in any books. And it wasn't just that she had these magical abilities that allowed her to be better, it's that she just won for some reason, which didn't make sense to me. I mean, even these people who are descended from the knights, and they had to train their entire lives in order to do these things. They had trained their entire lives, and then she somehow can beat them with 5 days of training. It just didn't I did not like that aspect of it. I don't like when books do that. It's very annoying to me. So that was something that kind of pulled me out. And also I wasn't a huge fan of the love triangle that was put into this story. I felt like it made it seem like our main character was using one of the guys to get what she wanted and then was getting into another. It just felt bad to me. I just felt bad, you know? It's not that I think it's not an okay thing to date more than one person. I think that's fine. Just in this situation, it didn't make me feel good. I felt so bad for one of the guys in the situation. So that also drew me out of the book a little bit. But those things are just personal opinions on this. It's not like there was anything wrong with the book. Those are just things that I personally didn't enjoy. But other people definitely could. So I would highly, highly recommend this book if you think that this sounds like something interesting to you. If you like shadow hunters or even like Ninth House a little bit. It's definitely more on the YA side than Ninth House, but it has some of those aspects to it. So I really love this book. I think it was so much fun, and I will be continuing with the series when the next book comes out because I love the magic system so much, and I think this author writes twists and plot points really, really well. So I'm hoping that the second book doesn't have those elements that I didn't like in this one, because this sounds like a world I'm absolutely going to love. I love having those like legends from a long time ago brought into modern day. It's just something that I enjoyed a lot in this book. Okay, so the last 3 books that I read in November were all part of the Stormlight Archive, and those were Edge Dancer, Oathbringer, and then Dawn Shard, all by Brandon Sanderson. So Edge Dancer and Dawn Shard are novellas that are part of the Stormlight Archive. Edge Dancer comes right after Words of Radiance, right before Oathbringer, and this book follows Lift, who we get a little bit of in the Stormlight Archive. She is introduced in Words of Radiance, and then she is definitely there in Oathbringer and also in Rhythm of War as well. She is a very interesting, cute little character. She is a Radiant who just is young and using her powers kind of as for fun and to steal and be a little thief, and she's so adorable. I really love Lift, and I think that's why I enjoyed this book so much, is because Lift is a character that I really enjoy reading about. Also, this one kind of talks about some things that become relevant later in the series as well. You could technically not read the novellas and just read the big honkin' novels in that series, and that's fine, but I think that they really add something to it and you get some more information and you can understand what's happening a little bit better. So I would definitely recommend reading Edge Dancer before Oathbringer and then Dawn Shard before Rhythm of War as well. But yeah, this was just kind of a cute novella where Lift figured out more things about the Radiance and all those things. And then next was Oathbringer. This thing is really large, but I loved it. I have loved every single book in the Stormlight Archive so far. It is absolutely amazing. I had so much fun. This is an epic high fantasy series, and really it kind of kicks off because this group of people called the Parshendi assassinate the king of the Alethi, and then the Alethi go to war for revenge. There are people in this world who are starting to develop these magical powers, and they are radiants, and those come from the past, but they are starting to come back at this time. So we follow multiple characters. Our main characters that we tend to follow, especially in the first few books, are Kaladin, who is a warrior, and then Shallan, who is a scholar, and Dalinar, who is a high prince, but also like a war general. So those are our 3 big main ones that we start off with, but we definitely branch out a lot. And this world is so much bigger than what I have described. I cannot really describe a whole ton of this without giving away spoilers. And you don't really want spoilers going into this because Brandon Sanderson does an amazing job of writing these worlds so that things pull together and come in, and you just get these big reveals, and it's amazing and it's so much fun. And I don't want to spoil that for anyone because I love it. I love when things that we didn't know finally come out into the open and we learn about why these things are happening or who's behind it, or there's these crazy betrayals and twists, and he is so good at keeping you gripped. And there are scenes in here where I just was on the edge of my seat and I had to know what was going to happen. So yeah, I absolutely love the series. I love the character work. I had a little bit of issues with some of the character arcs in this book, Oathbringer. There's one of our characters who kind of is having a split personality at this time, and I don't like that character arc. I don't enjoy it at all. It's something that I'm really not into. And so I'm hoping that maybe that is toned down a little bit in Rhythm of War. I am partway through it. So far, no, it's still a huge plot point, but it's not one that I enjoy. So I think that's probably one of the things that I enjoy the least about this series at this point. But overall, I love the characters. I love the world. It is so complex. There are so many political things going on, and you're learning about war strategy along with like economic factors that are going into that. And then there's a magic system that's involved, and then there's the religion that is thrown in there. And then there's the fact that there are different worlds, different groups and factions trying to take other people out. It is just intense and huge, and I love it. So I would highly recommend the series to literally everyone. Just saying. And also Dawn Shard. I read that after Oathbringer. I would recommend reading that before Rhythm of War. I know Brandon Sanderson says that it's not absolutely essential, but I think that it just makes you understand things better. There are things mentioned in Rhythm of War that you will understand better if you have read Dawn Shard. So just my opinion, you don't have to, but I liked Dawn Shard. I liked the characters that we followed in that book. We got to know some of the side characters a little better, which I feel like is a common theme in his novellas, that we follow these side characters. But it was a very interesting novella. There are so many interesting things that you figure out in this novella that I wouldn't have guessed. And there's so much more I want to know based on the things that happened in this novella. So many more questions. I feel like it answered several, but then just made a million more. So I love it. I love this series so far, and I am currently reading Rhythm of War, and I'm hoping to finish it very soon in December. So 2 books that were on my November TBR that are getting carried over to December because I did not finish them are Sword of Kaigen by Emma Long, and then also Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. Hoping to finish those in the first week of December, which is probably going to be this week. I think this is going up on a Saturday, so hopefully those books will be done by the time you see this. But we'll see. Anyways, that is my November wrap up. Those are all the books that I read in November. I had some really awesome books. I enjoyed my reading in November so much. It was a little bit varied. I had a little bit of different types of books thrown in there to break up some of my adult high fantasy, which was amazing. I loved it. I think November was a great reading month for me. Even though I didn't read all the books that I wanted to, I still really enjoyed the books that I did read. So let me know down in the comments how your reading month went for November. What was your favorite book that you read in November? Definitely tell me down below. And as always, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more, hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.